Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So on this video, I'm starting a new series basically where I will go over the Material-UI version 5. So basically the components that we use, most of the times. So we're gonna start by looking into Material-UI Dialog component this week. So basically I'm gonna keep on bringing the new videos for the new components, every other week. So if you guys enjoy this kind of content on the channel, give a thumbs up to the video and subscribe to the channel. Now without further ado, let's get started in today's video. So basically I have a create react app over here. I just did some cleanup and I just have a heading tag here. What we're gonna start doing is we want to go to our movie docs basically and go to installation, and from there we're just gonna copy this npm script that they have and just put it on the terminal. So that should install all of the dependencies that we need for Material-UI. And over here I'm going to search for a dialog component. Alright, this is the dialog that we're interested in. So basically if you don't know how the dialog works, it's just kind of like popover. Whenever you click on something or if the user does some kind of actions on your page, if you want to quickly show something for the user feedback, that's when we use Material-UI Dialog. So let's say, for example, in this case, right, they have this demo up here. If I click this button, they show this dialog. So here, user can make their choice. Based on that, we close the dialog and get the user input. And the other good example is, I think they used to have, but this is not the one. Another good example is if you want to have, let's say, user agreement, for example, you can use the dialog on that use case as well. That's what we will be doing today. Right now, okay, where do we want to start? So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to create a button. And when we click that button, we're going to show some sort of dialog for the user agreement. So for that to happen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in button on our app.js file from Material-UI. It's going to come from at movie/material. So I'm going to use this. And while I'm here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a use state from React, because we would need a state here. Bring in use state from React. So that we should have a state here. So let's create a piece of state first before even creating a button. So basically what this state is going to track is to make sure whenever we click the button, it should open the dialog. So basically it's going to be a Boolean flag. It's just going to turn on and turn off the dialog. So I'm going to name it as is dialog open and set is dialog open, and it's going to be use state, and it's going to start with the value of false. Alright, now right underneath this h1 tag, what I want to do is I want to create a button that I just brought. So basically it's going to say open dialog, and I should see that button right there. Now I'm going to provide few properties on button, although this is not the tutorial for button, which I'm going to do it on the coming videos on this series. I'll just give you like the high level overview of what's going on here. What are the props that we're going to pass? So basically on the button component, you can pass a prop called variant. So this is going to determine like how the button should look like. So we're going to say content. And then we can provide a color here, and we're going to provide a color of primary. So basically whatever the Material-UI theme provides as a primary color, that will apply that color. So if you want to change that, you want to create your own custom theme in that case. So if you don't know about these, don't worry, all of these kind of things gonna come on the future episodes of this series. Alright, now I think our button is done in terms of how it looks. We're happy with that. So what we want to do is every time we click on this button, we want to open the dialog, right? So for that to happen, we're going to have to do on click on this button. So whenever this button is clicked, what do we want to do? Since we are using that flag, right, Boolean flag that we created earlier, we want to set that to true. What to do set is dialog open to true. Nice. So now every time we click on this button, it should set up the flag to true. But right now it doesn't do anything because we don't have that dialog, right? So let's go ahead and create that. In the source directory, I'm going to create a folder called components. And within the components, I'm going to create I'm going to create another folder called dialog. And within that dialog, I'm going to create a new file called MUI dialog.jsx rafc. So it should create me the React arrow functional component with the named export. And what I also like to do is, let me expand this a little bit. On this dialog, I like to create a new file and call this index.js. All it's going to do is export the component that we created from MUI dialog. That looks good. So now, since we have this component, we can come back to app.js and import that to MUI dialog from. So we want to go to /components and then /dialog. So now once we do /dialog, we don't need to do /MUI dialog because we exported that component from index.js file. So that's the reason I created that index.js file. So let's go ahead and close that one. And I'm going to simply copy this. And right underneath this, I will just render it. And as you can see, our MUI dialog is there. So now what I want to do is I want to trigger this, like dialog component based on this flag, right? For that to happen, I'm going to have to pass this state as a prop. So let's do that. Let's pass this as a prop here. So basically, this dialog open is going to go to that MUI dialog component, and we're going to use that to basically keep track of like if the dialog is open or not. Now what else do we need? And yeah, I think we can get started on this MUI dialog actually. So if we go to this Material-UI docs, right, and let's look one of the component that they are using. If I look at the source, there are a few things that you need while using Material-UI dialog. So basically, one is dialog component itself. And one is going to be dialog title, where you will put your title for the dialog component. And you can use dialog content. I don't normally use dialog content text because I just wrap my children around dialog content and manage the styling based on CSS rather than using this content text. I'm sure there's a good reason to do that, but I don't like to do that. It's up to you, it's up to you how you want to manage it. And basically, dialog actions is going to contain some sort of button where user can provide any actions to it, right? So that's pretty much it in terms of what you need. So let's go here, and now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in those components from Material-UI. So I'm going to go here. As mentioned, we're going to need dialog, and then dialog. It's uppercase T, dialog title. And it's dialog content and dialog actions for our buttons, and they're going to come from at MUI/material. Nice. And on top of this, we're going to bring in a few more things on this file. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to bring in box to wrap my dialog component. So basically, if you don't know box, basically it's the layout container provided by Material-UI. Rather than using regular divs or spans, you can use box and provide the component in there. That way you can style those components using SX props. That's the reason I'm doing it. If you just want to use the plain old div and handle your CSS that way, you can totally do that. And I'm going to bring in button here because we're going to have a few buttons for our dialog actions. And the last piece of component that we need is typography. We want to show some sort of text, and we're going to use typography to do that. And if I come here, we're passing this is dialog open as a flag, right? Let's bring in here. We're gonna destructure the props and just put it right there. All right, now what do we want to do? So we want to do, let's clean this div and use box instead here. And the first thing that we want to do is render out our wrapper. So basically, we're going to call that dialog. So all of the things, your dialog title, content, and then your dialog accents, right? It's going to go underneath, like right underneath the dialog component as a children. There are a few props that you can pass to dialog component. So the props that we're interested in is the open prop. So basically, it's going to dictate whether we need to open the dialog or not. And that's going to be determined by is dialog open flag. Oops, not this. All right, that's good. I wonder why it's being true right now. It looks like our dialog is open. Okay, now, oops, not here. So if I click on open dialog, what it should do is it should trigger this on click and it will set the dialog open to true. So we should see the dialog. As you can see, the screen, based on screen color, the dialog is in open state right now. But the reason we're not seeing anything is because we don't have any contents in our dialog, right? We just have the wrapper element there. So let's go ahead and create our contents first. So that we're going to start by bringing the content for dialog title. So within here, you can pass all of your children. So what do you want to have on your dialog title? So we're going to create a dialog title. Basically, it's going to be a fragment wrapper component, not a component, just a few small HTMLs that we want to put in there. Okay, so where do we want to do it? Let's go ahead and let's copy that. Come back here, and I want to do const, paste the name in there. Basically, it's going to render a few HTML, so I'm going to use empty fragments here. And here, I can provide my title. So what do we want to have it on my title? So I'm going to use the typography component that I brought. And over here, on typography, you can provide various variants that you want to use. So let's say I want this text. Whatever the text that I'm going to put in here as a children on this typography, I want to have it as a variant of h1. So basically, you can pass a variant of h1 here. So whatever you put in here, it will be wrapped inside the h1 element. And we can say something like, please review user agreement. And if I save it, I will see that text in here on our dialog component, which is cool. Right now, it just looks ugly. So let's go ahead and fix some style. So on Material-UI, on version 5, you can provide a SX prop if you want to provide some sort of stylings. You could do it with style components or with regular CSS, but if you have like few lines of CSS, I don't see the reason to separate those. I'll just put it in the SX prop. That's what we will be doing today. I want to do font size of around 1.5 rem, so that should be around, so 1 rem is 16 pixels, so it's around 24 pixels in size. And I want to provide a font width of not bold. I would do something like, let's do 800. All right, now I think that's it in terms of our dialog title. We're pretty happy with our dialog title. So you don't have to just rely on text. What you could also do is, on most of the use cases that I see, is they put the close button, basically the cross icon, and you can hook up with the dialog close function and just use that in your title as well. But for now, we're just going to use the text. All right, now our dialog title is done. Let's go ahead and work on our body. So we're going to have to use that dialog content. And since this is not defined, this dialog content, let's go ahead and define that. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a wrapper. We're going to have a wrapper of empty fragments here, and we're going to provide our HTML here. So on our dialog content, we will have a text saying some sort of information regarding the user agreement. Let's use that typography component that we brought in earlier. I hate when this autocomplete, like this, like that. I'm gonna copy a text. So that I got this from Material-UI docs itself. So you can use whatever you want. All right, now what is the variant of this? So we're gonna use the variant of body1, and we want to make sure that our component is the p tag. So basically whatever this text is, it's going to be wrapped around p tag. So now if I open the dialog, oh wow, dialog content, so why it's not showing up? Copied this right. Let's see here. Let's refresh again. Oh, right there. I don't know why it wasn't updating earlier, but now we're good. So now we see, like this text over here as a dialog content, right? So which is good, and I think we don't need to do anything. This looks really good for us. Now we have our title, we have our content. The only thing left to do here is use these accents. So right underneath the dialog content, you want to go to dialog accents, and here I can just say dialog accents, and I'm gonna copy that, come back here and do const dialog accents equals to, let's do the same thing, let's create an empty fragment, and over here we're going to put our accents basically, which in this case is we're going to have a couple of buttons. One is going to say disagree and one is going to say agree, and it doesn't matter which button you click in, we're just going to close the dialog at that point. Alright, let's go ahead and create buttons. So I'm going to use the Material-UI button again, and we need 2 of these. So this is going to say disagree, and this is going to say agree. Alright, now if I open the dialog, I should see these buttons. Right now they don't do anything. We can fix that later on, but what I want to fix here is, first thing that I want to fix is the variant, because I don't like that variant. I'll just apply a variant of content, and the other thing that I want to provide is change is the color. Let's just do secondary for now. We're gonna change that because these 2 buttons will have separate colors, and then we're gonna have a on-click function here. On click, what this is gonna do, it's gonna call handle close dialog functions. It's gonna complain saying like that is not defined, but it's fine for now. And we're gonna apply a small styling. You know what, let's not do styling for now, because I'll show you, like what is wrong with styling, and once you get that, we can fix that. So this handle close a dialog, right? What it's going to do is it's going to close our dialog. But if you think about it, the state that handles the dialog to like open or close is an app.js file, which is this is dialog open, right? So what we need to do is we need to get this function as a prop from our parent, and on our parent we're going to change change the state of our dialog. So let's bring it as parent, but right now if I open this and click here, it doesn't do anything. The reason is we haven't implemented it here. So let's pass this function as a prop here, and handle close dialog. I think we don't even need to create any function. Since this is a small task, I'm just going to pass an inline function here. All this is going to do is set is dialog open to false. Now what should happen is, if I refresh and open the dialog, if I click this dialog will close. Both of the buttons will do the same thing. Nice. Now our button is hooked up. Let's go back to our movie dialog again. Now we're gonna do a few changes on our styling. The first thing that I see problematic here is, if you notice here, we are not providing all uppercase text, right, for our buttons, but it's changing it to uppercase. We will fix that first. Let's go here and I'm going to press options so that I can edit multiple lines, and I'm going to do sx equals to, and within here the property that you want to pass is text transform of inherit. So that's only take, like whatever you provide there. So as you can see, it's fixed now. And now the other thing that I want to change is for this disagree button, since this is the negative sentiment, right? Basically, it has a disagreement means something negative. So during that like situations, I like to use the red color. So on the Material-UI prop, right, for this color, you can provide an error prop, so that will change the color to red. And I think this is fine. Yeah, I think that should be it. So this means negative, this means positive. So we have a nice color up there. And that's pretty much it, I think, in terms of what you need to know on Material-UI Dialog component. Few cleanups that you could do, these things, right? All of these can be your separate component if you wanna keep your components clean, but for the purpose of this video, I just put it on the right here. And the other things that you could do is you can embed like bunch of HTML in your contents, and you can make changes according like on your title basically. So it doesn't matter what comes here. What matters the most is these things up here. Basically, you want to have on the top level, you want to have a dialog component, and within there you will pass each of your title, content, and action. And this is going to be really handy if you want to get real quick user input with like really good user experience. So this is the way to go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it provided you some sort of value. So if you think so, please give a thumbs up to the video and subscribe to the channel. See, I really appreciate it because it will help me grow my channel. And on the next video, I'll bring in another Material-UI component video. And with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. Thanks.